I originally had like the idea to do this because, my granddad's older brother. My granddad's 90, and also he had 3 brothers and 1 sister, and his oldest brother, as I said, Bill, who just passed away a couple of months ago, said he was one of the last Royal Marines that was fought at D-Day and that, and I said obviously we were proud of him, so. I was thinking about it afterwards about how it would have been real nice to speak to him and sit down, like we are now with the cameras rolling. Yeah. And then
you've always got it there.
Yeah. And then I think because I know that my grandfather, as I said, 90, and I think
He's 91.
91 is it time?
94.
You're not. You're 92.
92. But yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think.
Well, I'm not 92.
No, I know. See, no. Obviously, he got you when you were nice and young, Mary. A bit younger. For stories. But I thought it'd be really nice to sit down with you, Tommy, and Mary, and also with I would do it with my grandparents as well. And as I said, rather than thinking back, because I think everyone has like woulda, coulda, shouldas, don't they?
Yeah.
And I said it's a shame that I never got a chance to sit down with Bill.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a chance to sit down with yourselves. And have a chat.
Yeah.
So like what I'd like to do is, and I think as well, even for say like Drew, obviously Drew's seems like an obvious thing to say, but Drew's known you all of his life. But I bet there's so many interesting things that you've seen and experienced growing up in Malta and Edinburgh and stuff that Drew would never have even heard of.
Yeah.
So what it would be just nice to do is just to almost talk about your life stories.
Yeah.
That's what would be really nice to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we like take it back, start with you, Tommy. So you were born in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And you say, so what
1930.
In 1930 you were born in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And what's your earliest memories of Edinburgh? So what was your family environment? What did so who were your parents like?
My mum and dad.
Davy and
who else?
Elizabeth.
Davy, did you say?
Davy is father.
David and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And what did David do?
He worked with a contractor.
He was a contractor doing what exactly?
Pavements.
Corporations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he was like a builder, was he?
Builder, yeah. Well,
yeah. And what about your mother?
She would the
cleaned offices.
Offices, yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you have any siblings?
7.
7? Yeah. Any of them still alive today?
You got a brother?
Yeah.
Ronnie,
yeah.
Ronnie's the only one alive.
Yeah.
Is he where does he live? Where does Ronnie live?
Edinburgh.
So he never moved.
He never moved. No.
No.
So he never moved. Do you speak to him much?
Not very often.
Not very often.
No.
And so, but you had 7 siblings, and Ronnie's the only one that's left.
Yeah.
Cool. They were busy, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're not doing these days.
Yeah. Well, and also, like all joking aside, like contraception wasn't even really a thing until about 1960, was it?
Right, yeah.
So back in those days, it was just
lucky. You got to be lucky.
See what happens, isn't it?
When we got married, his mother said to me, "He's only got to put his coat on the bed, and I'm pregnant."
I can see where Drew gets it from.
And it was the Cowgate, wasn't it?
The Cowgate,
yeah.
Oh, you remember that then?
Yeah. I remember you took me there, Grandad, when I was 14.
That's where you lived.
In the
Cowgate, Cowgate.
That was like a slum area. Not a slum area, but it was tenements.
Right.
Big tenement build.
Well, there were a lot of tenements in Edinburgh, weren't there? Yeah.
Mostly tenements.
Yeah.
So was that more of the poorer side of Edinburgh, the Cowgate?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But funny enough, the bottom of the road was the Royal Mile in Holyrood Castle.
Oh yeah, I've been to obviously the Royal Mile. Edinburgh is I think it's one of the nicest cities in the UK.
Yeah.
So York and Edinburgh and Bath, I think are my 3 favourite cities.
You may have been round the Cowgate. I don't know.
Yeah, I might have been. Yeah, obviously I don't know the city.
Cowgate, Holyrood.
Yeah, I probably have. I just probably don't remember. Can't remember the names to associate with it. But I mean, I've been around Edinburgh a lot. And if I've been around like the Royal Mile and all around the castle, I expect I would have.
You've been down there. You've been around the Cowgate. Yeah.
I went on a really good sort of. I know it's a bit gimmicky. I went on a really good sort of like ghost tour.
You went to Castle Hill School, didn't you?
Castle Hill School.
Oh, that's where you went. So, what are your like memories of your childhood? Do you have like fond memories of growing up in Edinburgh? Or?
Yeah, we're just rough and tough in it.
Yeah.
You know.
So, like, any memories in particular that like stick out in your mind of?
Oh well, when I wanted to get away because I joined the Navy. Joined the Navy when I was 17. See.
Yeah. So up until that point, so you joined the Navy as a way of like almost like getting away from.
Getting away from Edinburgh. Like.
Yeah. So you were sort of like bored of that lifestyle.
When you go away,
you had enough
wish
of it.
you were back.
You worked on the railway first.
I went on the railway first. Yeah.
Right. So what would you say it was about Edinburgh that made you want to get away? Was it just because, as you said, you grew up in a bit more of a modest family?
Yeah.
You grew up in a bit of like a poorer family, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's right. Put a family. That's right. You wanted better. You wanted something better, like
Yeah. So you joined the Navy when you were 17.
Yeah. 17 and a half.
What was your first impressions of the Navy?
Well, I liked it.
You loved it?
I liked the discipline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
I'd say 7.5 years, really.
7.5 years.
Yeah.
So when you were in the Navy, because you met Mary because of being in the Navy, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, he met me in Malta.
So how long into your Navy career were you stationed in Malta?
When you went to Malta?
2.5 years altogether.
Right, so had you been stationed anywhere else?
No.
So that was your
You
first...
had, you've been to Ceylon and all over the place. You went on the red ship, didn't you?
She knows more than I do. No, I like the Navy.
Yeah?
Some people don't like it, some can't take it like that.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the only reason you came out was because there was no married quarters in those days.
Oh.
If there'd have been married quarters, you
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
have come out.
now because I like the Navy.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's still good and well being married, but if you can't spend any time together, then it's no good, is it? It's no good. Yeah, so you spent about 2.5 years, just like sailing the seven seas before you went to Malta and met Mary for the first time.
Yeah.
Any sort of memories of that time, sort of like sailing around on the... What ship were you on, can you remember?
Red Shank was one of them, wasn't it?
Red Shank, yeah.
Was it like a... What was it? Was it like a destroyer or an aircraft carrier or...
Lays mines.
Right.
Like a miner.
Mine layer.
Mine layer.
Oh, okay. And did any sort of like crazy memories? Did anything like particularly exciting happen? You can remember? No?
He was never in trouble, was you?
Not until you went to Malta and met Mary, anyway.
You used to do boxing, Grandad?
I went to do a bit of boxing.
Yeah, he did.
I wasn't very good.
No?
It was against Prince Philip.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, in Malta, yeah.
What, you had a boxing match with Prince Philip?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
that's a pretty notable thing, really.
Yeah.
So you had a bit of fisticuffs with the Queen's husband?
At a certain time, one of the ships used to get there, like
tie up in Sleema.
Tie up, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we used to do all sorts of things like that.
Yeah.
Racing in the boats.
And what else did you do with Philip? Was it archery? Something else you did with Prince Philip?
Shot him.
Do you do you have any memories? Like, what are your memories of Philip? Was it like a big deal that he was?
Well, you could say you liked him, and you wouldn't take offence, like,
Yeah, sure. So he was a down-to-earth fella. That's your memory.
With the troops, like.
He'd mingle with the troops.
Yeah.
And he was happy to say like box with the rest of you.
Yeah.
And he didn't expect any like special privileges or anything like that.
We used to go to dances
with
with Princess Elizabeth and Philip.
That is amazing. That's crazy, really. That seems like mad to me.
Ship's company dances.
Yeah.
That is absolutely mad.
We went to lots of ship's company dances where Princess Elizabeth, as she was there.
Yeah, just casually with whoever was in the King and Queen.
But what they used to do, they used to choose the men for Princess Elizabeth and the women for Philip.
Right.
They knew who they were going to dance with.
Oh, okay.
But
I guess that makes sense in a way. You can see why, yeah.
But you just danced round them, like ordinary.
Yeah.
There's no snobbery in it.
No.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you could mingle with the royal
Yeah.
family
Oh,
like that.
it is, yeah.
Snobbery.
And Princess Philip was then on the Magpie, and when they went out to sea, Princess Elizabeth used to come to our naffy in Teeny Barracks and wave the ship off. And she used to do the shopping in the naffy.
Yeah.
Just like
Just
an
normal
ordinary
person.
I think, do you know what? One of the things I always thought about the Queen, and I think some people can be a little bit harshly anti-monarchy because of obviously the money and stuff. And I understand, obviously, they should probably not get as much taxpayers' money as they do. But I think a lot of people that talk badly about them don't understand
No, what they do.
that, say, the Queen and Philip, when they were younger. I mean, the Queen was in the served in the army during the war, didn't
she was a driver.
And as you said, Prince, Philip didn't expect any special privileges. He was there on the boats with the rest of you, happy to get punched in the face.
And the Queen used to drive off to the hairdressers, and she said if you look back, she said it was the happiest time of her life living in Malta.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So they lived there, did they?
Oh yeah, they had a villa. Now it's shut up, but I think people can still go and see it.
So, with yourself, Mary. So, obviously, you were born in Malta.
Yeah.
And
my father was in the army.
So your father was he a British man?
Yes.
So your father was a British man in the Navy. So the army. So where was he from? Where was he from?
Wolverhampton.
Well, a place called Cowsley, which was between Dudley and Wolverhampton.
Oh, okay. So like Midlands.
Yeah.
Midlands, right. And he had also, so a bit like Tommy and yourself. So he had met your mother in Malta.
Yes.
And how did he meet? Yeah, was that something to do with the war?
Because mother was Maltese.
Yeah.
And her granny used to have a bar. And Dad used to go and sit in the bar. And they always used to think that he was after Mum's auntie.
Oh, right.
He was.
And he wasn't.
He thought that she was too old.
It was my mother. yeah. And that's how she met.
Oh, right. So, and why was he there? So he was stationed there in the army?
He was in Teenie Barracks. He was in the Royal Artillery, yeah.
Right. And was that something to do with the war or anything, or...?
No, it was after the war.
It was after.
Oh, hang on. No, it wasn't, because I was 6 weeks old when we come to England. So he was stationed in Malta. Then,
Normally he was in Malta for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
He stopped there 2.5 years.
Yeah. But then the war was... What year was the war? 39, wasn't it?
No, the war was from...
No, it finished in
38 to 45.
That's right. Well, I was born in 35, and we was in England then.
Right, okay.
So he wasn't in the actual war, he was just in the army out there.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to get my timings myself right. So he was stationed out there, obviously, in Malta, because
that's right.
Obviously they have good ties with Britain and everything. That's where he met your mother.
Yeah.
Right, and then...
I was 6 weeks old when they come to England.
Right.
And they came to Cowsley, to where Dad was brought up.
Right.
And that's where...
So you grew up in England then?
That's right. Yeah.
Right, you grew up in England.
Yeah.
But you met Tommy in Malta.
But when I think I was 8 or 9, Dad was demobbed, and he joined up again.
Right. Okay.
And he joined up again simply to go to Malta.
Okay, so he wanted to live there because of the climate and everything.
Yeah.
It's a lovely country. I've been there before. It's a lovely country.
Yeah,
I loved it. Yeah.
And just from my own knowledge of like the war, the Second World War I'm talking about, and also my grandfather was in the army, and he's always very big on like respecting. If people deserve respect. And the Maltese, like pound for pound, some of the toughest and bravest people, because they got annihilated. They got absolutely, but they never surrendered, did they?
No,
never surrendered.
And my aunties who lived in all through the war.
Yeah.
And they said, they used to go in dustbins and everything. When the sailors threw the stuff off the ship, they used to go through it. They didn't have any food at all.
Yeah.
And my uncle was in the army, and it's hard to tell you. In Imtarf, it was quite a long way from Slima, where they lived. Mm. And Uncle John was on the guns, and my granny went in a carrozza. That was one of these horse-drawn carriages.
Yeah.
With something, and drove all the way through the bombs and everything up to him.
Really?
Yeah.
So I say some of the most like honourable and they should be very proud of themselves, the Maltese people. But what a proud culture! What a proud culture! What to be bombed like they were, because let's face it,
terrible.
Especially for the first 3 quarters of the war. Say like Germany was such a powerful force, and most people were almost just scared into submission, weren't they, or beaten? But the Maltese never surrendered.
They lived in tunnels underground. Yeah,
amazing. Such a honourable and proud people. It's amazing.
Mum's sisters, although they married Englishmen, but through the war they were there.
Yeah.
And my auntie Ida, she used to tell us it was dreadful. dreadful what they went through.
I can imagine.
They didn't have any food.
Because it's not a big country, is
Because
it?
all the ships that were coming out with food were bombed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then one managed to get through with food on.
Yeah.
Just one ship with food.
Did they used to grow a lot of their own stuff and that, or was it, you know?
Not really, no.
Well, I guess it would just get bombed as well, wouldn't it?
They were bombed.
Everything was just bombed, yeah.
They were bombed unmerciful. Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a shame because I expect, you know, 'cause it's such an old country, I expect a lot of historical sites were just wiped off the
Everything
map.
was. I mean, everything was flattened.
Yeah. So I expect it's really I expect there's not very many old buildings left in Malta, which is a shame.
When we went, I'll tell you when we went, in 1947, we landed there the day the Queen got married. We
Right.
landed in Malta.
So that's when you went back to Malta
When I
to
went
live
back to Malta.
with your mum and dad.
Yeah, no,
Right.
Dad didn't come then. Dad was in the army.
Right.
Mum and I went on our own.
And this did you say you were 7 or 8 years old?
Yeah, well, 47, I was born in 1930. No, he was born in 30.
I was born
in 35.
Sorry, you were born. Right, so you were born in 1935. So, and you went there. Did you say in 1947?
47.
Right. Okay.
So that's-
okay. So you were 12.
Yeah. Well,
So you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
So you moved back. So you'd been living in the Midlands in England, but then
Yeah.
because your old man wanted to live back in Malta, and I assume
Well, Mother did.
Yeah, I was going to say. I expect she
Yeah.
didn't really like the climate and
Yeah.
stuff, and she was used to like
Yeah.
the
And
Maltese.
she missed her family, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously it's so industrial, the Midlands as
Yeah.
well. It's so different than Malta, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Just so
My
much.
dad loved Malta, didn't he?
Well, you would, wouldn't
Yeah.
you? I would. But right. So you moved back there when you were 12.
Yeah.
And was that like an easy adjustment for you?
Well,
Would you say?
Yeah,
Jesus,
it was.
you were told.
When you're a child, you do,
Yeah.
don't you?
Well, I guess you
Yeah.
do. Yeah, but
But he would never let me go to an army school.
right. Why is that? Then?
Oh,
He
Why is
would
that?
never let me go to an army school. I
For
don't know
what
why.
reason? Do you not know?
don't know
He
why.
didn't like it
Oh, okay.
for some reason. So I went to a private school.
Can you remember like arriving there and
Yes,
for the
I can
first
remember
time?
it.
So what were your thoughts when you sort of arrived in Malta and in this this is like your new life essentially. So what were you thinking in your head? Can you remember?
Yeah,
Like a holiday,
I
I
didn't
suppose.
really like it when I went first. Cause
Really?
First of all, I missed my dad.
Right. Yeah.
And then we went to live with my granny and granddad.
Could you speak Maltese? Just out of interest. Could you?
He wouldn't let me, my dad.
He wouldn't let you speak it.
No.
Oh, I did,
No.
it was broken
No.
English.
No, but
Oh, right.
I can understand it.
So
And I can
the
talk
one
it in my
that
head,
speak.
but I can't.
So he thought it almost as like an old-fashioned, like proper
Yes.
British
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
like
that's right,
like you're
yeah.
British, so you speak
Yes.
British,
That's
Yeah.
right.
right? Like
he said,
thought,
and if
did
you
one-
go, he didn't want me to speak Broughton English, and he said,
That's
you
interesting,
to
isn't it?
speak Broughton English.
Like
if you-"
an accent.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 I guess that's almost like it's back in those days. It wasn't that long after sort of the empire started breaking up,
Yeah.
and in those colonial days, it was like if you were if like. You spoke British, where wherever in the world a British man was, he would speak British. Well, let's face it, we're still like it today, aren't we? We're
Yeah.
still like it today, really. It's like one
Yeah.
of the things that.
Of course, they got the George Cross, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got the George
Yeah, the
Cross.
award, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Malta. Yeah.
The people loved British.
Yeah.
They absolutely loved the British people,
Yeah.
and they still do.
It's nice to hear. Well, I suppose we've always had good relations with them.
Yeah.
And as I said, during the Second World War, it was only really like Malta and like Greece and England. Was it? Can't really think of any other countries that even really didn't
No,
surrender.
In the
Yeah,
war,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I don't know.
Everywhere else,
no.
everywhere else surrendered, really, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know.
But in Malta, there's a place where you can go and put earphones on, and
Takes you to the wall.
it takes you all through the war, what they all did, and it's worth going and seeing.
We've got to see it.
Yeah, you can go and see that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Gives
Yeah.
you show the history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So, when you initially moved back to Malta, Mary, you weren't that keen on it at first.
Yeah, well, I think probably the biggest thing was because I'd left my father.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, like, how often would he come and stay with
Well,
you?
then he came about 3 months, 4 months later,
Right.
and we went into married quarters then.
Mariquar, he was stationed there. He
Yeah,
Right.
he was stationed there for 2 years.
teeny barracks.
And what about things in terms of like making friends and like the food
Oh,
over there?
yes, I-
So you made friends easily and
Yeah.
you enjoyed the food there and everything.
Oh, I love the food.
Yeah, yeah, it's delicious, isn't it? I mean, I think any of that sort of part of the world, the food
Yeah.
all around that region is
Yeah.
just so nice, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I even remember Great Granny, because she cooked me some proper Maltese pasta once. You know, she used to cook everything.
Roast it.
Yeah, oh, really tasty that was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So with you saying that your father like didn't want you speaking Maltese, so you spoke English at school?
It was a private school. Not
So it was a private school. So everyone there spoke English. Did
Everybody spoke English. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
were there Maltese people there as well?
It was a Maltese school. Yeah.
Oh, but they all spoke
It was
English?
a Catholic school.
Very
Catholic
interesting.
school.
That's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how old were you when you met Tommy? So you were 12 when you moved over to.
Well, I was 14, but I told him I was 15. I think.
Right. And you was and you were stationed there, Tommy.
I was there for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So you were stationed there in the
2.5
Navy.
years, yeah.
Yeah. And can you remember
I
meeting
loved
Mary?
it.
Can you?
I can remember meeting me.
Oh, no.
Can you remember like the first time you saw each other?
That was that day.
So that was literally the first time
Yeah.
that you ever met each other.
Yeah. That
And
day.
that photo was taken that day.
Yeah, on the boat.
Do you know who took that photo? Do you know who took it?
I think his friend took it, didn't he? Beanie
Beanie
took
Baxter,
it.
Beanie Baxter.
Yeah.
One of your friends, Tommy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Walpole.
yeah.
Ah.
2 years later.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're 14 there.
Beanie
I think I
Baxter.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to tell lies.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like.
Especially go with a matlock.
But you can see, I always looked older.
Yeah. Let's face it, I still don't think, people still lie about their. It still goes on today, doesn't it?
Yeah,
People lie about
yeah.
their age for whatever reason, whether it's
But nowadays they dress up and make up, and they're 15 or something. I wasn't allowed to do that.
No.
You
You
know.
obviously
Your
didn't
mother-
need it, Mary. You
your
obviously didn't
mother
need it.
Your mother was very strict with you.
The father was the worst.
That was your mother.
So
Yeah.
was Granny and they were both quite strict with you then when you
Mum wasn't too bad. No, she used to cover up a lot for me.
did she?
Yeah.
Ah?
Yeah.
Because
Because she was 10 years younger than my mother, see, which makes a difference.
Then
She
your
was
father?
younger than my dad. She was 10
Yeah,
years
yeah,
younger
yeah,
than
yeah,
my
yeah,
dad.
yeah.
And I know
He came from that more old-fashioned British way of
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
A bit, like modesty and everything's got to be
Yes.
done the right
Oh.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
And then obviously your mum was a bit freer
Yeah,
and a bit more relaxed.
She was, yeah.
Yeah.
But I know in the army barracks, if you were English in Malta, you had the best life,
Yeah.
And I know I used to be in the barracks and we used to play tennis, and I used to stand talking, and of course the soldiers used to come like flies,
Yeah, I bet.
And they'd see my dad come marching up the road, and they'd fly.
So after you first met, after that, so you obviously liked each other.
Yeah.
So how did you then arrange seeing each other again?
The Vernon Club. You could go dancing.
Well, no, yeah,
Right.
we used to go dancing, and
So would you plan to meet there, or would you just see each other there?
no, we used
Oh,
we used to meet all the
Meet up
time.
there, yeah.
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 What was that? The
You
Vernon
used to go on
Club?
Saturday.
So it's just like you'd go there and you have a dance and a couple of drinks, would you?
No, I wasn't allowed to drink.
Oh right.
No.
Would you be drinking, Tommy?
No,
was that
you
drinks
didn't
there?
I
drink.
did
You
drink a lot,
didn't
I
drink.
did drink a
No.
lot.
Oh right,
No.
okay.
One
So
of
you would just
the
go there to dance.
Yeah.
And what sort of music would they be playing? Is it like swing music and stuff like that? or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where they let it.
But he couldn't dance.
I still can't.
And of course, I loved dancing, but he didn't dance.
So Tommy would just watch you
So
dance.
he used to sit up the corner.
Well, it was known as the Vernon Club. That was the name of it.
Yeah.
And it was a big club in Malta.
And then we used to go to the ice skating ring.
And Saturday used to have the dance it on there.
Yeah.
That's what we used to go. We used to go down
Yeah.
there.
Right.
It's still there now.
It's still there now, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did you start sort of officially courting then? When would you say
Well, we got engaged when I was. Well, I must have been 15 when we got engaged.
Yeah?
Must have been, mustn't
Must
I?
have been,
Because we
yeah.
got married when I was 16.
Yeah. I say in those days, obviously it's changed a bit nowadays, isn't it? And I don't know what you both sort of think about that from your own point of view, but obviously in those days that was the way, innit?
That's the way
You'd
you
find a
did it.
suitor, if you like each other, you
Yeah.
get engaged.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
In some ways, you can
good
see
way.
why it's a lot better than
It
the way
was
it is
so
now.
much different to today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Although I do think obviously people should do what they want as long as they're not hurting other people, I do think there was benefits to that being the sort of the
Straight.
normal way of doing
Yeah.
things, because I think
Yeah.
nowadays you see a lot more
Yeah.
complicated family
Yeah.
arrangements and broken homes, and I think in those days it was like, look,
Didn't
this
happen.
is the way that you're
No,
doing
you're
it.
right, yeah.
But as a result, there would have probably been a lot more stable homes.
I mean, I used to have to be in at 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Only so much dancing you could do.
Yeah, I used to have to be in at 9.
Yeah.
And I can remember we lived in the second floor, and I
Yeah.
can remember turning my watch back like I was going up the stairs. Dad used to say, "What time is this?" Like, you know, oh, my watch is
Trying all
wrong."
the tricks. Yeah, trying all the tricks. Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was 9, Dad.
I can
Like,
remember doing that.
pleading ignorance.
Yeah.
Pleading ignorance.
Yeah,
Yeah. Happy times though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
I can bet, and the weather and everything is so nice in Malta. It's like not too hot, but it's not
Yeah.
too cold. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
almost like the best of everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember you
Well,
saying it was like a lot more innocent in those days. Like when you all
Course
had
it
fun,
was.
it was you didn't have much money, but like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was like kind of
Yeah.
not getting wasted. And
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Oh, we never get wasted, did we?
I mean, you never. I mean,
drink.
sex was just never thought of.
Mm.
You didn't.
It's like, isn't it? It's like innocent times.
Yeah, yeah.
You just have a dance and then like
Yeah.
a little.
I mean, you
Instead
kiss
of
and cuddle.
Yeah, a little kiss and a cuddle and
that's
Just
it,
cuddling out
nothing
there.
else.
Wouldn't go any further.
Yeah.
and I'll see you in
Yeah.
a couple of days time.
Mind you, I'd be frightened. Father used to say, "You dare bring
To
any
be-
trouble."
To be fair, as like I mean, it is hard, and just to defend your father a little bit, I think when you have got a daughter, it's hard to know
Yeah,
sort of how to
yeah.
react, and obviously you don't want to be like a controlling dad, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's also your job to look after him.
Yeah.
And if you know that all these army and navy lads are around,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
do you know
right.
what I mean?
Thousands.
And as a man, you know what they're like. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to get that balance
Yeah.
right, you know.
And he was very strict.
Did you have any siblings, Mary?
No.
You were just a single child.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, quite rare for those days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite rare for those
Yeah.
days.
And I think that's what made him more strict, I think.
Probably, because all of it was focused on you.
Yeah.
Whereas the more kids you have, it's like diluted, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's sort of like-
yeah,
and I guess he
Yeah.
thought, if anything happened to you, well, then he ain't got a spare.
yeah,
That's what it's like, sort of, isn't it?
yeah. But I mean, the things we use, lovely life, really.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So you got engaged when you were about 15, Mary,
Yeah.
and then how long were you engaged before you were married?
We got married when I was married. Was married in the July, and I was 17 in the August.
Right, so about 2 years.
16.
Yeah.
And where did you got married in Malta?
No, we got married in the Midlands.
So how long after? So you moved back to the Midlands. So you moved to the Midlands with
Yeah.
I
Mary.
was still out
Oh,
there,
yeah.
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 Oh no, you moved
Oh.
to Scotland first, didn't you?
Oh, I went to
You went to see the parents.
When he came back to England and we got married, then he got stationed in Scotland,
Right.
and I went up there. Had a room. Then it was rooms like next to his mother's. And,
So was that the first time you met Tommy's parents?
Oh no.
Oh, so you met him a couple of times
I met
as well?
them before he came over back.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you get on well with?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Any
You're
sort of,
welcome.
what were they like then? What would you say if you had to describe their personalities? What would you say they were like?
They were his mother
With the
especially
family,
was,
yeah.
and his father was very nice as well. They were lovely.
Would you say obviously
Working class.
with obviously me knowing like Drew and Glenn and stuff like that? Would you and Tommy not to the same extent, but could you tell that they were all related? Would you say? Like a bit of
Oh,
a
his
chip
family
off the
were,
old block,
yeah.
like a chip off the old block. Would you say?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Tommy's like his father a bit. You can see
Well,
things of that.
Yeah, no, he wasn't like his father really, because
No?
his father was. Your dad was a bit.
What?
Well, I don't know
It's all
how to
coming out now, isn't it,
explain
Tommy?
He was quite violent.
He was very jealous.
Yeah.
Oh really? In what? Like of his son?
Knocking his mum about.
Right. Oh okay.
Oh, yeah, you did, yeah.
He was very,
Yeah, bloody
very
woman,
jealous. And that's,
Right.
That's why.
So he had a dark side to him. He had a bit of a
Yeah.
darker
Yeah,
side
he
to
did,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And he,
Jealous nature.
Is that one of the reasons that you think you wanted to get away, Tommy?
Jealous
Yeah.
nature.
Probably when you left the Navy, were you like fed up of that sort of environment? That it was just a
I
bit
would-
too
yeah,
dark
I
and
did that.
violent and.
but I only stopped up there perhaps 6 months, maybe not that long, and I just packed up and come home.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't like it up there?
No.
And was that because of that
I
environment?
didn't like the atmosphere there.
Right.
Because
And that was because of the family
They-
situation or because of the
If
city
I
in
s-
general?
It might sound like I'm snobbish, but it isn't with that. They had a different outlook to me, how I was brought up.
Right. Okay.
I was brought up different to them.
And what would you say that outlook was? Like, what would you say their outlook was, like,
Well-
compared to your outlook?
I don't know, it was so much different to me, you know. I'd never heard of a pawn shop or anything like that, you know.
Right,
they used to pawn the clothes on a Monday and get them out on a Friday, like, to go boozing.
Right, so it was...
Drink a lot of drinking, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, it's Scotland, isn't it? I mean, I think, you know...
drink a hell of a lot.
Well, that didn't suit me because I wasn't used to that.
Well, I think a lot of people that, you know, if you've been living in, like, nicer, hotter countries and stuff like that...
Yeah.
Let's face it, in Britain, we have a reputation as a drinking nation.
Yeah.
Whether you're in Scotland, England or Ireland or wherever.
Yeah.
But, let's face it, when it's cold and it's dark, especially in, like, the dark, cold months...
don't forget
there's not much to do else.
Those days they didn't have any money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those days they didn't have any money, don't forget.
Yeah.
You know, they were very poor.
Yeah.
And as far as a couple goes, they were lovely, both of them.
Yeah,
and they
sure.
made me very welcome.
But I guess you...
I just didn't want to stop there.
Yeah, and I guess obviously you, as you said, you went to like a private school in
Yeah.
like a nice hot country.
Yeah.
And with, you know, probably used to really nice food and everything like that.
And not
We
only
lived
that,
next door, I lived next door to them till many, a year.
where?
We lived next door to them.
To your mum?
Yeah.
About 6 months. And
Six
I
months.
tell you what done it. He came home on leave one weekend and we were in bed.
I was in
and I had a
Glasgow.
bed settee and that's all I had. And anyways, Dad knocked the door to go boozing. This was about 9, 10 o'clock
In the morning.
at night.
Oh.
And of course, up he gets and goes. So I thought to myself, this isn't going to happen again.
So you thought his dad was like a bad influence on
That's
him?
right.
You thought, oh,
That's right.
That's
Yeah,
funny that you
yeah.
don't usually expect your dad to be the one
Yeah,
that's a bad influence
yeah,
on you, do you?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So the next day when he went back, I went to the British Road Services and made arrangements to bring my settee back.
So you had no more excuses.
And I went home. And I went home.
So you had no more excuses to go out drinking at 9 o'clock, Tommy?
Never went. Never. He didn't even know I'd gone.
Yeah. So then you were just told then that you're packing your bags.
Yeah.
So you did what you were told then.
Well,
Yeah.
it's just that sort of life didn't.
Still do.
That sort of life didn't suit me. Like,
Right.
you know, I wasn't used to that.
She was a boss.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that, but I just wasn't used to that sort of thing. My dad and mother never did that. Like,
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And don't forget, I was only 17.
Yeah.
And when you're 17, your outlook's completely different to when you're older.
Oh, of course, yeah. Of course,
Isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
What's so important when you're 17 to when you're 30?
Yeah. Very different.
Different.
Yeah, very completely different.
You make a lot of fuss about nothing when you're 17.
So
know.
so you then decided that you were going to move down to the Midlands again.
Back, yeah.
And were your parents back there at this?
Dad was still in the army, but Mum was there.
So your mum was there.
Yeah.
So your mum had. So when you moved back to Britain, your parents did as well, did they?
Oh, of course, his army time was up, so we
Right.
had to come
Okay.
back.
So that coincided with the sort of time that you got
married.
engaged, and
Yes.
sort of that time between you
Yeah.
getting engaged and getting married.
And he was,
In a way, that's quite convenient, then, isn't it?
yeah, and he was still in the army, and Mother wrote and said I was going to get married, like, and he said, no, she's not old enough, and my mother just carried on and made the arrangements.
Typical woman.
Yeah, that's right.
And he came
That's
home
right,
and his dicky bow and everything was ready.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's so funny, isn't it? That is
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you went and moved down to the Midlands again then?
Yeah.
After staying in Edinburgh for a little while?
Yeah.
You decided you had enough of that?
That's right.
So where did you move in the Midlands? You moved right next to your parents, did you?
Well, I lived with my granny.
So you lived with your
Yeah,
family?
Yeah,
Granny,
because
yeah.
don't forget, there was no houses in those days.
Right.
The war was over, but there was nothing. There was
Oh.
rationing, there was everything.
Of course, and also I suppose there was still repairing.
Oh, yeah.
A hell of a lot of
There was no-
repairs being done.
The first house Mother got, and she begged and pleaded for it,
Yeah.
was a gas light
Right.
right by a railway station. When the trains went past, you thought they were going through the house.
Right. So the house was like rattling.
Yeah, and it was gas, no electric.
Wow.
But we
So
were
you didn't have any electric lights or anything like
There
that?
was a house.
You didn't have any light bulbs, like electric
No,
lights?
it was all
So
gas.
when it got dark, you were cracking out the gas lamps.
The toilet was outside.
So you were living almost like a Victorian lifestyle in the.
But don't forget, we were so glad of that house.
Oh no, of course, yeah,
Because it was Mum's house, whereas we were living with my granny.
yeah. And I
It
guess
was
it's all
Granny's
relative.
house.
And I guess it's all relative as well, isn't it? Like at the time, it might sound a bit rough and a bit ancient now.
Yes.
But at the time, that was
It's a
it's all
blessing.
relative, isn't it? So that was like the best you could get. So.
I mean, we begged and prayed for that house.
Yeah.
And we had, my uncle Arthur had to come and do a lot of cementing and
Right, a lot of work on it. And that's and you were so you were living there together.
I was in the Navy.
He was still in the
Oh,
Navy.
so you were still in the Navy.
see.
So you weren't home very often.
No.
So how often were you home, Tommy?
Oh, Christ.
I don't know.
We used to go on a trip right.
3 or 4 months.
And
We were
where
in Scotland. He was in
months, yeah.
Scotland.
Oh, so you were stationed up in Scotland.
Yeah.
Scotland, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. I see. So you didn't travel the world much in that time.
No.
Right.
Never went again.
Malta,
You never went abroad again?
did I?
No, you never went abroad again.
What was the training? What kind of things would you do when you were in the Navy, Grandad?
Training.
Yeah, training.
Marching.
You were a stoker mechanic, weren't you?
Yeah,
Stoker mechanic.
Stoking.
Like your dad was.
So stoking, is that the coal?
Boilers.
The boilers. So engineer on the boilers.
Mm.
So that's where you learnt that stuff then for going to the point.
Yeah.
So
Correct, yeah.
How did that happen then? Like, did you
No,
know
I just-
anyone here or?
Well, when he come out of the Navy, of course he had to get a job.
Yeah.
And you got a job in the power station, didn't
Yeah.
you?
So what
Edinburgh.
what year
No,
roughly?
in Midlands.
What year roughly would you say that was? So how long after? So you've moved.
Well, Thomas was 3.
You've moved back to the Midlands, right? You're living in this house next to the railway station.
Yeah.
How long after you moved into that house did Tommy leave the Navy, would you say?
It was 3 years.
3 years after that, Tommy
Yeah.
left the Navy.
Yeah.
And obviously then, so had you had your first child yet?
Yeah, I got Thomas, yeah.
So you'd already had your first son.
Yeah, I had
Thomas.
him just before I was 18, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's, nice and
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
So Tommy was still in the Navy for 2 years, you say?
Yes.
Right,
Well,
so-
Thomas was 3,
Right.
nearly 3 when we come out of the Navy.
Right.
And we got a council house then.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it
we
wasn't a
did.
new council house.
Right.
This is how bad it was.
Yeah.
It was an old house, but you've got to get so many points, you know. We wasn't entitled to a new house, so they gave us an old house.
Yeah.
But we were glad of it.
Yeah. I bet that was hard. That first sort of 2-3 years of your first boy's life.
Oh,
It must have
terrible.
been hard for you to be away from your wife and your son,
And
wasn't
you
it, Tommy?
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah,
really
well,
hard for
it
you?
was
Can
away.
can you remember really missing him and stuff when you were?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
You must have
And
done.
I know that. No, I thought you just go back in the Navy and do what you're supposed to do later. That's it. And send a letter.
Yeah.
Did you used to send letters, did you?
Oh, I did a letter.
We used to write every day.
Yeah, that's
Every
nice.
day.
That's
Every
nice.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like almost like crazy nowadays because I can remember, and I didn't even know this, but at my great uncle Bill's funeral that I was at in York about a month ago, like I didn't even know this, but my cousin, he's my second cousin Terry, so my dad's cousin, right?
Yeah.
Bill's son, without trying to get too
Yeah.
confusing, he didn't meet his father until he was 4. Because Bill was stationed in the army as a
yeah.
Royal Marine.
Yeah.
He was like in like Korea or something.
Yeah.
So I just thought that's crazy
right,
that you just
yeah.
haven't even met. Like you come home, your kid's 4, but it's the first
Yeah,
time you've met him.
yeah.
But like it must have been a bit similar for you. Like just
Until you said
your
right
life
straight
was
away,
separate.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
You had a separate life.
Because we came to England. We came to England, and he was still in Malta.
Yeah.
And then, when he came to England, we were only in England. He was only home 3 weeks, and we got married.
Yeah. So you've had you've had your first son, Thomas, and you've just left the Navy. So you're looking for a job, and you got a job at a power plant.
Power station.
Well, in the Midlands.
Yeah.
So which power plant was that? Can you remember what it was
Orchard
called?
Hill.
What was it called, sorry?
Tipton.
Orchard Hill, Tipton.
The Midlands.
Right.
In the Midlands. Right in the heart of the Midlands.
Yeah.
Right. And how did you find that?
Well, I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah.
What was like the pay and stuff like compared
Safe
to?
work it was.
Yeah.
It was alright as well. Can't remember exactly what it is now, but
Yeah, sure.
it was good wages.
Good at the time. It was like
Probably more than you had before.
More than
wasn't it?
normal, yeah.
Yeah, more than in the
Yeah.
Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was alright. I
And-
enjoyed it. It was a good shift work, like, you know.
Yeah.
So what would you do on the shift work? You do the
Boilers.
Ah, yeah.
Boilers and turbines.
So was it very similar to what you were doing in the Navy?
Yeah.
So you just like picked it up nice and easy?
No problem.
Didn't need much training or anything like that?
No.
And were you really happy to have him much closer, Mary?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Much easier having like the dad about as well, like when you got a kid.
And we never had any problems, did we? We never had any money, but
Yeah.
Only your wages.
I mean, it's hard to explain it to people these days how bad it was, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I had SAFA, the Navy people who were supposed to help you, you know, if you. And I was getting £3 2 a week. That's all I was getting.
Yeah.
That's 2 shillings 20 pence, isn't it?
Yeah.
£3 20 pence a week. And the SAFA man said to me, "You've got enough to live on."
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a halfpenny.
Yeah. It's funny because my grandmother sometimes can be quite outspoken about, you know, when people complain too much nowadays about money and stuff.
So,
and she can be quite outspoken.
Like I had.
Yeah, and I think that to some people she comes across as real harsh, but she'll say things like, well, everyone's got a mobile phone, and
That's right,
like, you know, everyone's got a mobile phone, everyone's like seems to be doing this and that, so they can't be that poor.
No.
And it might seem like she's being harsh, but I get where she's coming from, because, as I said, like, especially when like talking to you about this, like, even like a poor person now is living much better than...
Oh yeah, because you get help.
Yeah, that's it.
We didn't get any help.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't get any money for the first child, and you got 5 shilling for the second.
Yeah.
You didn't get any help. If you hadn't got any money, tough luck, you got to go to work.
Yeah.
And I used to go to work on one shift, and my mother used to go on the other, and we used to meet one another and pass Thomas over.
Right.
I had to go to work. I've got no choice. Got no money.
Yeah, sure.
What
But
were
people
you working
don't-
then? What were you doing?
In the
mill.
Was the in the mill? You mean Scotland still? In the cannon where they made gas cookers
Oh,
and
yeah,
that.
that's it.
Oh, okay.
And I used to do it in inspection. Mother used to do one shift, I used to do the other.
Oh,
We
right.
didn't have any choice. We'd got no money.
Right. And so I'm just trying to think, because Drew's dad, Glenn, he's the youngest of all your kids, isn't he?
Yes, yeah.
So how many kids have you got again? Sorry.
3.
So you got 3. So and you had your daughter.
Yeah.
Was it after Thomas?
Yes.
So how long after
3
Thomas was
years.
she born? So she was born 3 years after. I mean, you're still in the Midlands at this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're still in the
yeah,
Midlands.
we were in the Midlands, so we come down here.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You really, so okay. So you
Yeah.
spent
So
most of your life in the
come down there
Midlands
with
then.
Yeah.
Oh right.
So
So
in the first is in the Midlands.
right. But by the time, Glenn grew up in Cannington, didn't he?
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
you moved to.
Yeah, he was the happy accident all those years.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
He was a
it
happy
was.
accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's quite a bit younger than Thomas, isn't he?
10 years.
10 years. Oh,
Yeah.
a fair bit then.
Yeah.
Like a fair bit.
Yeah.
So what year did you move to Somerset? Do you reckon?
You came in 62, didn't you? You came in 1962.
And that was to work at Hinkley Point, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So you moved here for work originally. That's,
Yes.
That's
Oh,
why you
yeah,
moved here.
work,
For
Because
work.
I didn't want to come.
No.
So why did you leave the power station in the Midlands?
Because we heard that it was going to close down.
Right. I was going to say, so it was shutting down. And at the time, Hinkley was
The old
starting
ones,
up.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
So you just go in where the money is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you didn't have any choice.
Yeah, just going where the money is.
Yeah.
Did that when I starved.
I mean, I never wanted to come down here.
No?
Oh, gee,
For what reason?
I just didn't want to leave the Midlands. I loved it.
Yeah, well, so-
all my friends were up there.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
Sure.
And I had a good job in an office.
Did you think like it was a bit too rural in Somerset for you, or?
No, I don't know how I can explain it. It wasn't that I really disliked it. I think it was because I missed everybody.
Well, of course, if all your friends and family are in one area,
Yeah.
you'd naturally want to be around them.
And you don't know
don't leave them,
anybody.
do you?
You don't know. And I tell you what, people in Cannington are very cliquey.
Yeah, well, I think those old school little villages around, I find it as well in Stagursey where I
Yeah.
am.
What was Cannington like back then compared to now?
So
Well-
what year do you reckon you moved there? Was it like early 60s?
So
64?
I came a year 63. I came down here. Yeah,
Right, okay.
but
So you both bought a house in Cannington?
we first of all we lived in. You know where Savannah lives?
Yeah.
We lived in one of those houses, and they were called Hinkley Point houses
Okay.
Yeah.
because they were built for the Hinkley Point.
They were
workers.
bought specifically
and
for that.
And it was lovely there then.
Yes.
Right.
Really nice.
Right.
Everybody kept it nice.
Not like now.
And we had good friends.
Yeah,
because they put the council people in and spoiled
Yeah, that's
kids.
it. That's it. Well, no, you're right there because, like, I mean, I hear some hilarious stories from like Savannah and Drew and Sherelle and that about, and our friend Nikki C, about what it's like living down there now. It's
Yeah.
like EastEnders down there nowadays.
Well,
you
it
know?
wasn't like that then.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was everybody was in from Hinkley Point.
So everyone's there. It's like ambitious
Yeah.
people. They go
We
in there
knew
to work.
everybody.
Yeah, and you want
Yeah.
to make a good life. So
Yeah.
so you thought it was a bit cliquey, but on the whole, you liked it.
Yeah, well, I started to work at the institute, and of course, they don't accept you till about 5 years later.
Right.
You know, you go to work and you always feel like you're a bit of an outsider.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah, I understand that because even like in Stagursey, I feel a bit like that.
Do you?
I mean, it's almost like, even though I've been living there for over 4 years, there's that sense of like, well, you know,
Yeah, you're a member.
yeah,
You're a
it's,
newcomer.
there's like the clickies and you see the people talking in the corners, and I'm always real friendly to
Yeah.
everyone, and I'd help anyone if they
Yeah.
needed anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been times when it's like snowed, and I've deliberately gone out just to pull people,
Yeah.
like tow people
Yeah.
home and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll help anyone, but it's a bit, there's always that thing, isn't there? Like,
Yeah.
you're not quite included.
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
think all those little villages, like, you know, I'm sure Stowey's the same.
I expect so,
Stagursey,
yeah.
Cannington,
Yeah,
Cummich,
yeah.
they're all like it, all those little
Yeah.
villages.
Yeah, but of course there wasn't even a bus.
Yeah, oh, right.
No,
What about? Didn't you say the road going into Cannington was like a dirt road?
no, it wasn't a. There was no road markings.
Right.
Nothing. There was
No
one.
ways.
There was one bus a week.
Yeah.
That's all.
And not as many cars.
No, well,
No, dude.
I think we were the only one on this shift. What had a car?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was because we had a fish and chip shop up the Midlands.
Oh yeah. So how did that come out? So at first, before you moved down, you had a fish and chip shop.
Yes.
So you had a little fish and chip shop for a
Yeah.
while. You both
Yeah.
worked it, you
Yeah.
both ran it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
I still wanted to work, but she didn't, and then I used to help her.
right. So that was.
I still kept working job.
So you were still working,
yeah, I kept
but
a
you
job.
would get home and you would help a little bit in the fish and
Yeah.
chip shop.
And it was
That's
a
right.
lock-up. It
A
wasn't
lock-up.
It was a lock-up shop.
What
Right.
does that mean?
Sure, you
You know,
don't need over.
Like a shed, perhaps, but not a shed. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
So it wasn't like you weren't like living above it or anything
No,
like
so
that.
I used to have
no.
to walk
Mm.
from where we lived, and that was quite a way,
Well,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Oh, I loved it.
Well, I suppose it was a bit different than what you were doing before.
And then we had a van. We bought a van because we used to supply the works with fish and chips on a Friday.
Oh yeah.
And then when I had the van, I used to drive it without a licence, and I was frightened to death.
In Birmingham, just learn how to
Incriminating.
drive.
When he was on mornings, and I had to, you've got to deliver him, and they're waiting for the dinner, you know. His mate used to come and sit by me as though he was a driver, and he couldn't drive either. And I remember
Brilliant.
once Thomas was in the back, and I couldn't start the damn thing, and he said, "Mum, you've got to turn that key on before it is."
That's brilliant. That is.
But I was so frightened that,
Yeah.
because I knew I shouldn't be doing it. See?
Yeah. Oh, you learnt on the job, didn't you?
Yeah.
You learnt on the
yeah.
job. Just
Yeah.
praise for everything. So you had a fish and chip shop for a couple of years, and then you moved to Cannington. So you didn't think about starting up your fish and chip shop
Well,
Yeah,
yes, we did,
Oh.
because the town and country planning took the fish and chip shop off us for rebuilding council houses.
then? Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they offered us a new build, but when they give you a new build, it's absolutely empty shop.
Right.
So you'd have to buy all the
You've got to buy everything.
Right.
cooking.
Okay.
And we had a
afford it.
flat on the top.
Yeah.
Well, we'd done everything. Because you have to have it all tiled, all done specification, you know, for the council.
Mm.
And we just didn't have enough money to pay the deposit on the chip pans.
Oh.
And my
yeah.
dad wouldn't lend it
Well,
us.
then,
Ah.
No, I wouldn't. No.
And we'd got everything else, but just that. We just didn't have that.
Yeah.
So you weren't happy with your father then?
So we lost it. But we were going to give them the flat, see? And
Ah, right.
Yeah.
we were going to continue walking.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
driving then.
Yeah.
But
That was in the Midlands.
that was in the Midlands.
And so then that didn't happen, and then this opportunity came.
And
with-
then he heard the power
Easy
station
point.
was going
I
to
did
be.
go to shop.
So you had to follow the
So
money.
So then you did try it here as well, didn't you?
oh
with the
yeah,
fish
we
and
tried
chip
to
shop?
get one in Cannington and wouldn't pass it.
Why is that then, do you know?
You know by where Drew lives, that house on the corner where he lives, that fella who comes to dinner on Christmas.
Oh yeah, he used
I love
to own the pub.
That
Yeah,
fella that comes
yeah.
to Christmas.
He's the owner of the Friendly Spirit before, like a
Yeah,
couple of owners ago.
yeah.
Right.
Well, that used to be a little hardware shop, you know, and sell wool and all sorts.
Mm.
So anyway, when she was selling it, we were going to buy it, and we applied to the council to open it as a fish and chip shop.
Mm.
And the council wouldn't pass it because they said there'd be papers all over the street.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit silly. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
And what about as well in Frome
Yeah.
as well? Didn't we?
Yeah, Frome we had one. We used to go and cook there every
So you lived in Frome for a while?
No, we were buying a fish
Travel.
and chip shop in Frome.
Right.
And we used to go every Saturday and cook there. It had a little restaurant at the side of it. Because you couldn't get money in them days, you
You had
know.
to think outside the box.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
finally he got the money from Bristol. Great, we got it. We were going to sell the bungalow, we got it. And he rang us up, didn't he, the man? He said a Chinese fella had come in and offered him more money. And he said, Tom, if you can match it.
That's the money.
He said, if you can match it, you can
Forget
still
what
have
it
it.
was, but
Yeah.
match it.
Yeah, he said, I'd rather you have it.
Mm.
But of course I can't turn down extra money.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was
we
it?
couldn't make it.
So that was it.
Sold
That was that.
It's still
So
there
that was the
now.
end of the fish and chip.
That was the end.
So you were going to travel to Frome from Cannington?
But no, because we would sell up there and
Oh.
live there.
Oh,
Was it-
sorry.
got a-
Right.
got a-
So you were going to see if you could get it in
Yeah.
Frome, and then you.
well, we thought we'd got it.
And then what would you have done though, Tommy? Because you were working at Hinckley.
He'd have probably packed it up because
Probably backed up, yeah.
Oh,
it
right.
was a
Right.
restaurant and everything. So
So you would have just like really
went
got
to
a
the
hand.
chip
Yeah.
shop.
You would have
yeah.
gotten hands in with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, right. But that didn't happen. So you just had to stay working at Hinckley.
But that's what I say. Nowadays they've got all.
I'm a bit
they've
of
got
famous, and
everything.
what's going to happen will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what you've always
Yeah.
been like, Grandad. Is that what you've always been like?
Oh yeah, what's going to the
Just
way
going
I'm
with
going
the
to
flow.
go? Yeah.
Yeah. But
Just
I
going
mean,
with the flow.
Yeah.
nowadays you get all the help in the world, don't you? But
Yeah.
you didn't get any help.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't lend you money on bricks. They
Bricks
would
and
only
mortar.
lend you money on bricks and mortar, not on business.
Mm.
So it was a job to get the money. Finally, you did get it.
Yeah. So you settled in Cannington after a little while, after
Yeah.
a bit of like a rigmarole with all other sorts of
Yeah,
ideas and,
yeah.
and prospects. So what did your children think of living in Cannington? Because obviously your firstborn, Thomas, he would have grown up in the Midlands for... How old was he when you
10.
first... So he was 10 when you came down. And is your daughter... is it Tracy?
No, Lynn.
Lynn?
Yeah, she,
Oh, is she the
was
one
3 years younger.
Did she
than-
move to America? Is that one?
No, that's my
Thomas's
granddaughter.
kids.
That's Thomas's kids. Right, sorry.
Yeah.
It gets a bit confusing, doesn't it, with
Tracy,
families?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
no, they loved it.
They liked living in Cannington.
Oh
and
yeah, they
everything?
like it here.
Yeah.
What about
Well, I
Thomas?
do as well. It's only what you
What
think.
about Thomas when he had did he have a crossbow?
Oh yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that?
It's really
We,
dangerous.
from Lewis's for Christmas we bought him a, you know,
Crossbow.
the
Yeah.
target, you know,
Yeah.
and the bow and arrow and everything. And then I think somebody got killed or something. I don't know what it. I took it back.
No, didn't you say that you looked in the bin and there was just all birds?
Oh
in the
no,
bin?
that was we had an air rifle,
Air rifle.
Oh, right,
That was
yeah.
an air gun.
and I looked in
Oh,
the
that's where Drew gets it from.
and I looked in the bin. I looked in the bin, and there was all these birds in the bin.
What? I like how he just put them in the bin.
Shot the bird.
I bet they would have
The
stacked.
rifle went.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
did, yeah.
I was strict with him more than anybody. Yeah.
That's quite funny, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you.
It was a happy life.
yeah.
Yeah. So your daughter's called Lynn. So I don't think I've ever met Lynn, have I?
No, she lived in Bridgewater. She was another one. She got married at 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she is luckily happily
Yes,
married.
yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So like how long were you working at Hinckley and Tommy? Like how long ago did you retire?
When I come down.
How long before you retired?
Oh,
You've been retired. You were 58 when you retired.
15. Well,
It was
what was
58
I,
when you
58?
Oh, a while ago then.
Yeah, I've been retired quite a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Over
58.
30 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how long were you living in Cannington?
Well, until we came here.
So you moved straight from Cannington to this flat?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We moved from the Kingsley Point houses to Clifford Park. We bought a bungalow
Right.
in Clifford Park. Do you know it?
Yeah, I think so.
You might have been
by the
there,
doctors.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the doctors round there.
Yeah.
Lots of happy memories there. That was
Yeah.
where we'd
Oh, I always had the
spend
kids
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Always had the kids there.
Yeah, because obviously you with like your dad, you sort of like did a little tour of the UK, didn't you, before like your dad settled back here? Because obviously, what was it, Glenn worked in Suffolk for a while?
Yes.
And was it Bristol as well? And
Yeah, Bristol, Suffolk.
Owen, obviously Hartlepool. Because when
Yeah.
I first met Drew, he had a Hartlepoolian accent.
That's right, because he came to live with us when Glenn moved
It was
down here.
yeah, because that's obviously when I first met Drew when we were like 11. He said, Drew was like real skinny little kid with his bleach blonde curtains. And he was like, I'm Drew Armstrong from Hartlepool. I remember being like that.
The first day he went to school, I took him to the bus stop.
Oh, I remember.
And I went home and cried my eyes up. He stood at that bus stop all by himself.
The kids was there, like.
Oh, dear.
Spoke to him.
He didn't know a soul.
Oh, he made friends in no time, though.
Well, he did, and he come home from school and he was right as rain. And I've been worrying all day.
Yeah, no, he was fine. No, because I remember it. Obviously, I remember it. No, he was absolutely fine.
It was funny because I hadn't even met anyone. We moved down about a week before I started school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I think Drew's always very chatty, and even though he doesn't think he is, I think he's more confident than he lets himself believe. You know, because I remember he just like with me and that. I think we chatted a little bit, but I remember he was just like got like a plate of chips or something. And he just came and he just came and sat with me, like you know, at the table, and then that was it. We were just we were just mates. That was it. And we're just like here now, you know.
I'll have to tell you a story about him.
Yeah. I got a few I can tell you about him as well.
He was friendly with a girl in Comich.
Right.
We had the pub, and we took him to a birthday party there. He must have only been 11 or 12.
Yeah.
He'd only been there an hour. And he found out we had to fetch him back. You know why?
Why?
She's got fell hairs under her arm.
Hair armpits.
That's enough to put a lad off, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like,
he hated it.
I'm not staying at this party any longer.
He was a lovely kid. He was funny.
He's alright.
Yeah. It's nice though, because obviously like looking around like your flat, as well as obviously your nice pictures of you like the day you met and that. Like you've got so much family. Yeah. Now, obviously I know Drew's sisters, Sherelle and Savannah, and Sherelle's got 3 kids if you include, Noah, two of her own. But like looking around, considering how long I've known Drew, like I don't even know like some of the so it must be so nice for you now just to have that like massive extended family.
They're so good. Aren't they? They're good as gold, each one of them. Since we haven't been driving.
Yeah.
They're the best grandkids you can have.
I know that Sherelle's really hands-on, isn't she?
And Tracy. Yeah. And Savannah.
Yeah.
And Samantha. Samantha rings up every day without fail.
But that's what you got to do, innit? You got to look after your family. And at the end of the day, think, none of them would be here without the two of you.
Honestly, every one of them.
The thing, but I say you got to give back to the people that give back to you, haven't you? And I always think that about my grandparents. Like when I was like this tall, they looked after me and they give me food and they would give me a roof over my head. And they'd look after me when my parents going to look after me. Yeah. Now they're older. My granddad's 90 and my grandmother's 83 or 4 or whatever she is. Yeah. It's my turn to look after them.
Yeah.
So that's
what the kids say.
Yeah.
You did for us.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, we used to drive to Bristol.
Yeah.
3 times a week to look after him while his mum went to work when his dad was down in Suffolk.
Yeah.
3 days a week we used to go down there and stop.
It's not like it's just down the road, is it? It's a bit of a drive,
Yeah, and we used to, because his mum went...
But you do it because it's your family, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what you do for family.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice that obviously like hearing like, from obviously growing up, during the war and...
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. And then obviously meeting when you were so young.
Yeah.
Right through from like, living in Malta for a while and then in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And then down to the Midlands and then finally here. And now you've like obviously set up shop here and now you've just got all of these grandkids and and great grandkids and stuff like that. I bet you can't even like keep count. I bet you don't even know who half of them are, do you, Tommy?
and they've got such lovely names, haven't they? Savannah, Sherelle, all these funny names.
Yeah, everyone says that, doesn't
So sometimes I'm Savannah, now it's Samantha,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
But they are wonderful kids. I can't say anything.
We
can't say any different. No, they are.
You don't have any trouble with them. It's all right.
No.
Yeah,
no.
That's the main thing.
I used to love going for games of golf, Grandad. When we'd always go up around Cannington, we'd always go out and play.
Yeah. He was a good golfer as well.
Yeah, I remember him saying because I remember him
he went off straight. I don't know why did you pack it up? He packed it up.
I think it's just one of those things. I think because I remember Drew was really into it when we were in school for a few years, but I think. You come to the end of school and I think like, you know, Drew was so into music and playing his guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and I think
Yeah,
also
you
around,
can
Yeah.
around that age as well, that's when you start really
Yeah.
seriously like thinking about girls more often.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like girls and guitaring.
That's a lot of trouble.
Yeah, like, you know, girls and music took precedent over
Yeah.
over the golf.
But he was
I
a
guess,
good
but-
golfer. It was a shame.
Well, he's still young enough to pick it up at some point, though, isn't he?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
When I'm retired, yeah.
because Thomas is now, isn't he?
Yeah, he loves it. Doesn't
Yeah.
He?
Yeah, play well, play a lot. Oh.
Yeah.
Grandad, I wanted to ask as well. When right back when you were a kid, you were in Scotland. You in the war. You had to go and live with another
Oh,
family,
yes.
didn't you? What was that called again? When you were an orphan? When you
Evacuated.
Yeah, you were
Evacuated,
evacuated.
right.
So you were evacuated from Edinburgh,
Yeah,
and you had to go live with another family.
yeah.
Yeah. To where was the place?
Just
Don't ask me because I
think.
can't remember. And his mother
Inverness, was it
used
Inverness?
Inverness.
Inverness.
his mother used to send food parcels, and the
Oh, really?
woman, and the woman never
Inverness.
used to get. Wasn't Inverness, no.
So your parents stayed living in Cowgate,
Yeah.
but you and your
Evacuated,
siblings.
yeah.
and his sister
Her sister.
Right.
was evacuated.
They got
What-
rid of us.
What was that like for you? What was that
It's
like?
all right.
Yeah, you
It
didn't think
wasn't
much.
all right. It was
It
horrible.
was all right.
No, it wasn't. She wasn't. She used to lock him out.
Oh,
you
the
know.
woman looked after us, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you,
Yeah,
I don't hurt you afterwards.
but
Yeah.
yeah. And his mother fetched him back anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, she was very caring then.
She was a lovely
What a-
lady.
Yeah.
She was a lovely lady, his mum.
And you were there with all 7 of your siblings, were you there?
Well, she lost two
She
with
lost-
measles.
Right. Well, that's
I
like,
lost a couple.
Yeah.
yeah. So was there any of your siblings, Tommy, that you were close with?
Well, he was close with Irene. He
Irene
was close
said-
with all of
Irene.
them, really, because
Yeah.
they were a very close family.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just your one brother that's left now. You just don't really chat so much. Is there any particular reason for that? Do you think, or just
Well, he's
just
got
so
Alzheimer's.
right? And I suppose you're just so far away from each other as well, aren't you? At this age, yeah. At this point.
Yeah. It's a bit difficult to speak to him, like, really. You know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And Grandad, do you remember as well when you were telling me about the about before you had the job when you were a butcher? What did you do at the butcher's?
Oh, yeah.
Butcher's boy, yeah.
You were a butcher's boy, so you would deliver.
For the butcher meat.
Ah,
Is that at Edinburgh
People-
before
yeah.
before you joined the
Edinburgh,
Navy?
yeah.
He had a bike.
Yeah.
And then in Edinburgh it was.
Mm.
And they used to put your order in, and I used to deliver it.
Mm. All around.
And all around, yeah, it's good.
I'll keep you fit, I suppose, won't it? Cycling all around Edinburgh with all these like packs of meat,
And
wouldn't you?
I remember when we were there as well. You showed me this part in Edinburgh where you cut yourself really bad when you were running and you climbed up a wall and there was all spikes
Oh,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
What was that?
Just trying to
I
think.
bet he figured he's forgotten.
Yeah, I remember you showed me it when we were there, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I climbed that wall when I was a
Yeah.
kid," and you cut all your leg.
He was always in trouble.
Yeah, always running.
It was
about.
just, no, you just like,
It's
the
in
kids
those
are the
days,
same.
you know, they used to get
Edinburgh's the same.
through the window of the picture house and
Oh,
pinch somebody's bike.
slinking.
Pitch somebody's bike. Slinking. What does that mean? Slinking. What does that mean?
Slinking.
Slinking,
Slinking in.
Oh,
getting-
sneaking in. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They call it slinking.
Yeah, if anybody left a bike tough, they'd got rid.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's still pretty much the same now, isn't it?
It probably is.
Yeah. If you had to like almost like to like sort of, like wrap up, if you had to give like say like a bit of advice to anybody nowadays, so after like, you know you've lived your lives and you know you've got a nice life now, you're sort of at the other end of things. If you could give like some young people advice nowadays, what would you say?
Advice about what?
Just life advice. If you could like think of anything that you maybe wish somebody had told you when you were younger, or something that you're passionate about that you think that maybe like the youth of today are lacking a bit, like what would you say? Like some advice.
Yeah, well, I don't think they try enough.
Probably respect.
Eh?
Probably respect. Got to
Yeah,
respect for
respect and I don't know.
Having like respect in general
Yeah.
from
people.
people,
Yeah, with people, not just family. Like,
just in general.
But they
Yeah,
don't. They get money too easy. That's the trouble. If you've got to fight for it, it's different.
Yeah, I think one thing that you know I like to sit and think about sometimes. I think it's a fine line, isn't it? Where it's good to be compassionate, I think, and to help people out. But I think sometimes you can go too far the other way. And I think nowadays we've almost got like a bit of a culture of like where people think there's like an excuse for everything.
That's
oh well,
correct.
well I'm like this, or I've been through this, so as a result I deserve to have this this hand me out, or whatever. You know, and it's like look, everyone's got their trials and tribulations and things like that.
But we never had that, you see.
Yeah.
Wow.
We used to have to work for it.
Yeah.
I mean, even when I lived in the bungalow, and we'd booked a holiday in Malta, hadn't we? And I had to go clean the offices in Carrington and go picking eggs. 2 jobs I had.
Yeah.
And he had 3 jobs.
Yeah.
He cleaned windows, he did the football coupons, and he went to Hinkley Point.
Yeah. And you had 3 kids as well.
And 3 kids.
Yeah.
And
Which isn't easy as well, like raising kids. It's hard. That's a job in itself,
But we
isn't it?
didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So
You wanted to go anywhere, you had to do it.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell, when we bought that bungalow, you had to have 1 week's money covered your monthly mortgage. I don't know whether it's the same now. And it was £42. That's all he was getting at Hinkley Point, £42.
Yeah.
And when I finished work, I was getting £42 a week, and I worked full time.
Yeah.
Now, just to compare that,
Yeah.
you know.
How do you think you guys have stayed happily together for so long? Because what is it? How many years? Have
70 years.
70
So you've had your platinum jubilee, haven't you? You've been written to by the Queen and all that. And
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great achievement.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It should have got a medal, really.
And to be quite honest, we've never had rows or anything, have we?
Really? Never really?
No.
We've had
If we ever had words, it was about the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we ever had words, it was about the kids.
So what about like that? Like more specifically, if you had to give advice to like young couples today, like what would you say to them? What's the secret? What's the secret to having a platinum jubilee?
Respect each
Well,
other.
I think what it is, sometimes you feel like, why, you know, I could row, but think twice
Wring his
about
neck.
it.
Yeah.
What's the good of rowing?
Yeah.
At the end
You
of the
know
day,
you gotta make up.
you don't win anything.
No, so
Just bite. I used to tell his mother so many times. I did. I used to, because she's a
She
lovely
was-
lady, she's Karina.
yeah.
And I used to say, Karina, what does it matter? Who's right, who's wrong? You know, forget it.
Yeah.
Because life is too short.
You know.
That's true.
But we haven't. And you've got to be kind to one another. That's another thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
I think as well as like when you start going down that road of like arguing and stuff, you're creating a negative environment for yourself then.
Of course you are.
And then
Yeah,
also
you're only hurting yourself and
and if you're harsh on somebody, say when they make a mistake or forget something, well, we're all human, so at some point you're going to be the one that forgets something, or you're going to be the one that makes a mistake. Do you want them to be harsh to you, or do you want them to be like, oh, don't worry about it?
Yeah,
you know?
because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
think
I've always thought. And we honestly haven't never rowed, really, have we? Not rowed.
Oh, we've had rows.
Oh, no. We have not. Arguments.
There's a difference between like a dispute and like an argument, whatever you want to call it. We all have disputes, and we all have. You know, but
I think you got to put each other first.
Yeah. No,
That's
definitely.
true, yeah.
That's the truth.
And I think as well, if you are having a bit of a dispute as well, like you can put it in almost like a funny way. Like you tease your partner and take the mick out of him in a nice way, but then it doesn't have to be all serious and negative, does it? You know.
Was Grandad always quite jokey, Nan?
Yeah. But you always made you laugh.
Yeah.
Always.
That's the best way to be, Tommy, isn't it? That's the best way to be.
Yeah.
Did he make Granny Grimbles pee herself once?
Yes.
Was it you? Or was it you? No, it was you, wasn't it?
Oh God, that was Jeff.
Remind me who Granny Grimbles is.
My mother.
Your mother.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, we were on holiday, and Jeff, dear friends of ours, he's passed away now, but his wife was here last week from the Midlands.
Yeah.
Dear friends they were, and we were on holiday with him in Spain. Well, him and his wife, you would think they weren't friends, because they used to be backbiting one another all the time, but it didn't mean anything, like, you know, and he was like this, he was so funny. Well, anyway, every night we used to go in this bar, and Joe and me, that's my friend, used to drink this bombardas or something, what they call hot chocolate and brandy. Well, you know what they're like in Spain.
Yeah.
But we were both quite drunk. And I thought, well, I wanted to go on the toilet, see. I thought, well, I can't get up them stairs, I know. So I didn't go. So off we went. And then Jeff started. Oh, I know what it was. We'd gone for a steak. And this lady came round and said, it was all there, pick which one you wanted.
Yeah.
Anyway, all our steaks come, none for Jeff. Joe and that is. But honestly.
No, I had one for them.
Oh, dear. But he started.
And they
Well, of
dry.
course, I was waiting to go on the toilet.
A very dry block, wet.
I just could not stop peeing. I was on a bridge, I remember. I couldn't stop. Jeff, and I knew that Jeff, if he started, I would be like that.
Yeah.
When we used to go up for the weekends, and I used to keep going to the toilet because if I didn't, he'd start and I'd be off again.
Brilliant.
It was like very dry.
He
Could have been a comedian.
She said,
Could have been a comedian, really.
She said I could do with some new glasses the one day when we were there, didn't she?
Yeah.
He says, oh, look at the moon up there. She says, oh, yeah. He said, well, if you're seeing the moon, you don't need any glasses.
Yeah.
But he was like that all the time.
Yeah, just constantly.
Oh.
It's nice to be around people like that.
It was
though.
a comic, really.
Yeah. It's nice to be around people like that, though, isn't it?
So that's another thing. Is you spent a lot of time with your friends, didn't you? Like stuff like that. You go away.
Definitely,
Yeah.
go weekend.
Yeah.
And what about America? You when Grandad retires, you went for a trip around America, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that sounded awesome.
Yeah.
And didn't you meet someone there? And you
We
did a house
exchanged
swap?
houses.
Yeah, that's such a cool
That's
idea,
an
isn't it?
interesting thing to do. How long did you do that for then?
6 weeks.
6 weeks, a little 6-week house swap. Whereabouts in America?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We took them to America.
Yeah.
And we were in the supermarket
Whereabouts in America is this, sorry?
in Florida.
In Florida, right.
And I heard Glenn say, well, ask my mum, she's coming, So this lady said, we're going to England for a holiday. She said, can you tell me what sort of clothes they wear? Do they wear, they thought we wore crinolines and all that,
What the hell?
All fashioned ones.
like Victorian people.
Yeah, she thought everybody, so I said, I was talking to her and I said, well, why don't you swap houses? Oh, what a good idea, she said.
Yeah.
So anyway, her husband went with her. So she made arrangements. We went for a meal at the house.
So this was when you were living in Cannington. So they lived in Cannington, did they? 6 weeks?
Yeah. And we went for, and we arranged it.
Oh, nice.
And they came, and Thomas took us to the airport and brought them back to our house.
Right.
But when we got in their house, she'd got stickers over everything. This is a potato peeler. This is a this. She thought, I don't know what she thought we had in England. And she said, and when we met her, when we come back.
That's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah, she said, I bet you thought I was terrible. She said, putting all those stickers on, because I'd got everything,
That's funny though, isn't it? There's like something about Americans are a bit like that, aren't they? It's almost like they think that, we still like in penny, penny farthings. And
Wasn't there a cat?
Oh, yeah, they had a great, it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
And she said, no, he never goes out, that. And she got Parrot as well, and Parrot hated women. Parrot hated women. But anyway, she said, no, the cat never goes out. It's got a box, I thought, I don't like boxes. But right opposite them, say where those houses are, there was woods. Right. So we used to take the cat over every day.
Wood.
Well, it's a good, that's another thing, isn't it? I think it's strange to us, because in Britain, obviously, you have a cat, you usually just let it out.
Yeah.
But it's a much more thing in America, like they keep them indoors.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's almost like pointless.
And it was like a lion, it was a big thing, a great big fat thing.
Yeah, well, probably never did any exercise if it didn't go out the house, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this parrot, when you went like,
That's so funny though about all the labels on the potato peeler.
everything had got a label on. A potato spinner and a... This is a
as you said, what did you think? Did we just bite the potato peel off? Do you know what I mean? We obviously use potato peel.
We were friends with them for years after.
That's nice.
We went out, we went over and stopped with them, and they moved, and we went to their house, didn't we? And she's died now, bless her, but we used to be friends for years after.
Yeah, that's really nice,
Yeah.
What's that sound? Someone like drilling.
Yeah, somebody drilling. Yeah. But we've had some great holidays in America.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah.
What about any other countries that you've been to? Have you known been particularly well travelled? Countries you've been to abroad?
Australia, everywhere.
You moved to Australia, didn't you?
Well, we applied and we were too old, I think. But
right.
We were going years and years ago. Yeah.
Right.
My dad said the Midlands is going to be bad.
Right.
So we ought to all go to Australia.
Yeah.
Right, we'll go to Australia. We had our medicals and everything. We were even taking the dog. And then they wouldn't go. We did everything and then they wouldn't go.
Oh, right.
And it was his idea.
Right.
And of course, Mother was crying. I'm the only one,
Yeah.
Crying, so we didn't go. We had all the medical. We were sailing on the 24th of June, I remember.
Right. Oh, wow.
Even
That's good
taking
memory.
the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I always think that, like, the Aussies come across well, and I think if you're a British person, it'd be easy to live in Australia because they have the same lifestyle as us, don't they?
Yeah.
Same similar sense of humour. They don't really take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
You know, they eat their fish and chips the same as us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's pretty similar. I mean, you know.
It's a lovely country, mind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to try and ignore the crocodiles and that.
Yeah. Well, when we went to Pat's, this person we exchanged hours with, she said, I'll take you and show you around the swimming pool and everything. And when we got to the swimming pool, there was a big bloody crocodile lying there.
You've got to be careful, ain't you?
She said, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. See what they're big as well, aren't they? Like big saltwater crocodiles in Australia, like the biggest ones in the world. Those are like 20 footers, 20 footers in some cases, like crazy stuff. What about any other countries you've been to that sort of stick out in your mind? So.
Well, I think America's we like the best.
Yeah.
We've been Vegas
America,
3
yeah.
times.
Oh, really?
Vegas is something.
Yeah, been no gambling.
Oh, I like machines.
Brando, you've never been too much of a gambler, have you, really?
No.
No, I was.
Yeah.
When we've been on a lot of cruises, we used.
Oh, yeah, you like going on the cruises, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fun, that does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went on a cruise once, like a cruise to the Mediterranean. That was quite nice. Like wake up every morning and you're in like a different dock,
Yes.
aren't you? It's just quite interesting,
What
isn't it?
ship did you go on? Do you remember?
The Carousel, I think it was called.
Oh, that was
the Carousel in the Mediterranean.
Yeah, that was what's the name ship? Carousel.
I can't remember any more
Yeah,
details on that.
yeah,
I can't remember any more
yeah.
details.
That must have been nice, like, almost a little bit of a reminder of being in the Navy when you were on the ship, but just like, going around in.
Well, I never used to know which side was which, like,
Yeah.
but he used to, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Oh, what about the time you threw someone overboard? Greg?
Oh,
I
yes.
can't believe you didn't say about that.
Yeah,
Tell us
Why
what
did you
happened
throw
there.
someone overboard,
I
Simon?
forgot that now.
Well, there used to be a club called the Tuck H.
All right.
And I used to go, and if he was on duty,
You
mind
used to
you,
go dancing there.
and all his
All the outlaws.
all his sheets were marked because he used to have to borrow my mother's sheets when he had a kit inspection because he used to pay somebody to do. He didn't trust me. See, he used to pay somebody to do his duties. Well, anyway, this night I was in the Tuck H and he was on duty, and his ship was right opposite. Anyway, this fella, Jim. he
I
went back.
still know his name, man.
And we went back on the he went back on the ship, and this Jim said, your girlfriend was sitting on my lap, like, So he said to me when he met me, did you? I said, no. So he went and knocked him overboard. And it was true.
Yeah. It's a shame he could have drowned that. I wouldn't be here, I'd be in prison.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, good thing he didn't drown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he had it coming by the sounds of things.
I was often jealous though, wasn't I?
Yeah. One New Year's Eve, we were
I'd have been
walking
jealous
along
of
the
that.
seafront, and this lad came. Before I went with him, Keith,
Keith,
and he came and kissed me. And he'd got a guitar in his hand, and he chased this poor lad all around with the guitar. And then when we went to Scotland, he was on the same ship as him.
Yeah,
Really?
nice bloke, yeah.
He was in
He was a nice bloke.
Oh, at least you can admit that you were a bit jealous, Tommy.
Yeah.
At least you can admit it,
Then another time I used to dance with the bloke off the Glory, and the Glory used to go out and his ship used to come in, like, so it was quite good.
Alternating.
I was meeting him, I worked in a cake shop then, and he was standing outside the cake shop, and the Glory had to come in for something wrong with the engine.
Right.
So the Glory hadn't gone, and the bloke of the Glory was standing on the other corner.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So I thought, what am I going to do now? I was in a right mess, like, you know. Anyway, he realised who he was and chased him.
So you won Mary. You won him over, Tommy, through sheer aggression.
That's right, yeah.
Well, if you want something in life, you got to go get it.
Really.
You got to go get it, haven't you? If you want something,
Yeah.
and there you are.
Yeah. All these years.
Yeah, that's it.
For you.
Well,
Wasn't there a brush that Grandad brought you or something? A set?
oh, yes.
You were gonna-
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
It
that's
was my
good.
birthday. And he bought me this dressing table set, a brush, mirror,
Right.
comb, you know. And I said to my friend Irene, I said, I'm packing him up tonight. I've gone off him. And she says, oh, well, I don't know what she said. But anyway, when I met him, he'd got this big present. I said, I can't pack him up now.
So you let in it first.
So I said, oh, well, I'll stop a bit longer. And that was it. You know.
You changed your mind after that. You thought, actually, it's a really nice set.
And you know, when we moved down here, somebody stole it off the furniture man land.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
Pinched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by the time you noticed, obviously, with all
Yeah.
moving house, it
Yeah.
takes you a while to realise,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right.
But we had some fun, didn't we? But when you're young, you don't, you know. And there was no funny business then, you know. There was no,
Sex.
you know, they couldn't say, oh, you've done
I'm
this or you've
disappointed.
done that. Could they? What did you say?
I was disappointed.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Can you think of anything else? Or anything you'd like to say? Or anything you'd like to say before we wrap up? Anything?
Well, it's been very nice.
Yeah, no, thanks very much to
Yes.
both of you for talking to us.
And that's my favourite grandson.
Yeah? Saying that officially on air.
That's
There you go.
officially on air.
No, thank you very much to both of you for talking
Yeah,
to us.
thank
Nice
you.
to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've met you plenty of times before, Tommy, but I've got a forgettable face. No, I'm joking. No, thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.